Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another amazing episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Ryan Beachum. If this is your first time joining us on today, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification so you won't miss an episode. Ryan is the co-founder of ResortShare. On today's podcast, Ryan shares about his transition in the 2008 market crash, going from a real estate broker to the traveling industry. And then in 2020, experiencing the travel cancellations due to a global pandemic. Please help me welcome Ryan with Leading from Underneath. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
Grew up out on the East Coast in the Virginia Beach area, and I lived out here on the West Coast in California for the better part of my adult life. Wow. So I'm here just south of LA in Orange County, which is where our corporate offices are. It is a different mentality. It is a kind of bigger city mentality out here than where I grew up in a small town. And of course, out here, a lot of people come out to the LA area. A lot of people come out here, of course, really to make it in one way, shape, or form. We know the entertainment industry. Sometimes I miss the seasons of the East Coast, but if you're going to be stuck on the same day every day, it might as well be 78 degrees and sunny. So the most exciting part of what I do is, one, I work in the travel industry, and I think most people can agree that travel is an exciting industry to work in. And so creating something new within the travel industry is even more exciting. A lot of the online travel agencies that people have used over the last 20 years have essentially been the same experience and the same pricing. So creating something new in this already exciting industry keeps it entertaining around here.
Right now, we're in 2020, around springtime. And, people were doing a lot of traveling. Because of COVID-19, a lot of things were stopped. We're going to get into the other side, but as far as the business side of it, how did that affect the way you do business?
As I think we all know, there were a lot of different kinds of businesses and industries that were affected by COVID, none more than the restaurant and travel businesses. We were greatly impacted, frankly, had a massive negative impact on our revenues for what we were projecting as we were growing and what actually happened once that asteroid of the pandemic hit. It's interesting, without getting too philosophical about it, was such a tragedy in so many ways, and yet there are good things that can arise out of otherwise tragic situations, right? And so what was interesting for me in my experience is it forced me to look at things a little bit differently, to take a step back and say, okay, what am I doing here? What do I really want to do? And actually, it became a catalyst for me to kind of pivot the company in a pretty dramatic way. And so it was really interesting for me in the way it unfolded. We're so quick to point the finger at something and judge certain events and say, well, this is definitely negative, or this is definitely evil, or this is definitely bad. Yeah. The truth is, we're seeing things so closely in front of our faces, we can't see the forest for the trees. So all of us can relate in one way, shape, or form if we look at our past, that many times the things that we say are tragic and all that, and of course, there are some very sad things that have and are still taking place in this world. But we should be careful to see the full picture and how it impacts our individual lives, I think.
In 2020, everybody have their goals lined up for their personal life, for their business, and everything just changed. It was just a dramatic change. And I mean, it was a part of, even me with business, it was like, what do I do? Because there was no blueprint for it. Nobody really knew what was going on. And then, talking us, in the leadership, as a CEO, it had to be very challenging for you to not fall apart in front of the people that are following you, in front of the customers. There's a lot of things you had to deal with. So I want to ask you, This question, what characteristics, values, qualities do you feel every great leader should have?
That's a great question. At the end of the day, I believe a leader should really be leading from underneath. So what does that mean? That means I have no interest in hierarchy. I have no interest in someone putting me on some kind of pedestal. It doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve the overall system, right? For me, it's about eliminating the hierarchy. I'm just a person with a certain skill set that works alongside the rest of the team. Mm. And so what I believe my role is a couple things is to really unite everyone with a common vision. And if people aren't excited about that vision, then they really have no business working on the team, right? So in the hiring process, you want to find people that have the right skill sets, that are excited about that vision, being very judicious about who you're hiring, and then uniting everyone with that common vision. And then your job as a leader is pretty simple. If everyone's aligned with a certain vision, your job as a leader is to remove obstacles to achieve that vision for the rest of the team. Yeah. That's it. You just want to remove the obstacles and do what you can so that you can achieve that aim.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What did that look like for you in the last 12 months?
It's changed everything, honestly. Changed. We were doing something different in the industry. Being in the travel industry as a leader of my company, frankly, it's been a lot of tap dancing. It's like eliminating as much expense as possible, because we certainly took a big revenue hit, trying to work against the grain to still get as much revenue as we can. And for me, it's also been pivoting at the same time. So it's kind of like changing the tire on the bus as it goes 80 miles an hour down the road. It's just changed everything. And I'd be lying if I told you, it didn't put a few more gray hairs on my head. It's been stressful, but if you're adverse to these kinds of situations and to the stress and to the buck really stopping with you as a leader, then maybe entrepreneurial endeavors are not for you. And that's okay. That's okay. Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur or a leader or to start new companies. There's good and bad. And so you take on the stress, you take the liability, the payoff hopefully is ultimately more freedom and more financial independence and all those things.
That's good. That's good. Let's talk about Hello Vacay. What inspired you to begin this journey and why? Let's talk about it.
Sure. My journey's been interesting because I was a real estate broker for years. Another dramatic thing that happened in my life was the crash of 2008, where we faced the second worst economy our country has ever seen, second only to the Great Depression. So as a real estate broker, when 2008 hit, I went from doing well to it being the headline of the news. Last thing you want to buy is real estate. How that ultimately translated into real estate was interesting, because I ran into a friend that I grew up with, I hadn't seen in years, who was still selling a form of real estate in spite of that economy, and it was timeshare real estate. So I didn't know anything about timeshare at the time. Started working for the largest developer, learned a lot there, started a company to help timeshare owners that owned a lot of it, that needed to offset their maintenance fees. And as a byproduct of that, I started a company in 2011 called ResortShare, helping timeshare owners rent out their unused points and time to offset their yearly maintenance fees. And it kind of took off like a rocket ship. And so it was interesting how it segued from real estate to travel-related real estate, which is owning people that own timeshare deeds. And now the pivot has been into just the broader hospitality industry with my company, Hello Vacay, and our partnership with Priceline. So what is Hello Vacay? Hello Vacay is really sitting in the middle between the public online travel agencies and the travel clubs. So if you look at the public online travel agencies, they have rates that are all basically the same. If you're looking at all the large online travel agencies, they're publicly available. it's really all the same experience. And there's not a lot of loyalty for any online travel agency for most people. They're just usually hunting around and looking for different rates. And there's very little, disparity between different rates on the online travel agencies. And so those are just public rates. On the other side of the coin, you have the expensive travel clubs where there's a bunch of initial expense and they can access some private rates and those kinds of things with the travel clubs, but there's a lot of initial expense, there's a lot of ongoing expense, and a lot of times there's a long-term obligation to be a part those travel clubs or timeshare or any of those kinds of things. So what we decided to do is to sit in the middle of those two things and offer people for kind of Netflix style pricing the ability to access the private rates. And we have been able to start down that road with our first partnership with Priceline just for their private rate inventory, not the public rates that you see on the online travel agencies. So it's a membership based subscription that's very, very reasonable. And the prices, people are just shocked when they see the prices. I just went to Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. I stayed at a 5-star hotel, the Venetian, and I legitimately paid 72% off what the public prices were, even on the Venetian's website, and I paid $66 a night. And so those private rates have to be behind a paywall, behind a username and password. And we are required in our partnership with Priceline to charge something for the access. But literally, if I even just look at my last trip, I just used it, getting 72% off. One night paid for the $99 people pay a year. I saved more than that. That's what Hello Vacay is it's access to private rates. We started with Priceline. We are looking at different sources of other private rate inventory that have not been publicly accessible. And so it's a subscription-based membership access to these private rates that have never been widely accessible before. And so right now we're in the middle of getting ready to do a capital raise. We're going to build some custom technology, some exciting technology. There's going to be some other aspects of that, like crypto travel rewards, which we think is going to be really exciting as well. So.
Absolutely. Question, talking about those rates. Why are the rates across all these different travel agencies, why are they the same, given the same for the hotels and dates and everything?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So in the travel industry, unless you work in the travel industry and you're up to your ears in it like I am, you would know that there are agreements between the online travel agencies that everybody's using and the resorts and hotels with a clause that's referred to as parity pricing, which simply means the online travel agency says to the hotel, you can list your inventory on my large public online travel agency, but what you can't do is you cannot undercut that pricing on a competitive site.
Wow.
So when you have those agreements in place with the public online travel agencies and the hotels and resorts across the board, what you have is a flattening of the pricing. Some people call it price fixing. And so if you've ever went from one public online travel agency to another public online travel agency and thought to yourself, well, I'm looking at the same hotels on both sites for the same dates, and the prices are always, anywhere I look, almost the same. They're all within a few dollars of each other. Absolutely. That is not an accident. Those prices are set that way. So that's parity pricing that exists in the travel industry. And so our platform gets around that. Again, it has to be behind a paywall. It has to be a membership with a username and password. And behind that, we are able to list private rate inventory that's not publicly available.
Wow. And this is interesting. I'm glad you're sharing this, because these are things that, just common people like myself. I mean, I don't know that, I go on and I'm going through it, because you see all these, I'm not going to call names, but you see all these different places and, they say they give you the best deals. And I remember in the very beginning, I did believe that when we were traveling, I believed that, but then I started, let me check out this, let me check out that. Then I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? It is the same. My wife and I took a trip to Hawaii and it was just, It was amazing how everything, no matter where we went,
Yep.
everything was exactly the same. And this is pretty interesting, this information that you are sharing with us right now. So I mean, this is really great.
Unless you work in the travel industry, I mean, I talk to people and ask people all the time. No one knows this. To me, this is a big secret, right? When you can pay 50% of what everybody else is paying out there, that's a big deal. I mean, obviously I'm biased and I'm excited about our platform, but what I'm talking about is a real thing that exists in the industry. And I think most people have noticed this. And so we're going to do everything in our power to continue to include more inventory that is, again, these private rates instead of this kind of price fixing that goes on out there.
What kind of culture do you want to foster within your company?
Yeah, again, it goes back to really eliminating the hierarchy. We're just a bunch of people with different skill sets that are working together, aligned with the same vision to accomplish the same aim and goal. And that's it. We really want a culture where we can treat people like adults because they are adults, meaning I want to be able to treat everyone like the adult that they are. Conversely, they need to act like an adult with the responsibility and the accountability to do what the system needs. And if we can't have that adult relationship, then Hello Vacay is not the place for them to work. If that makes sense. Again, removing the hierarchy, treating people like adults, and creating a common vision that everyone's excited about, where everybody's doing the work that needs to be done.
From what I'm listening, it sounds more like a partnership instead of the employee relationship. So I definitely love the culture aspect of that. What is your long-term vision for Hello Vacay?
It's really to be essentially the most affordable, flexible travel club there is with access to private inventory. So that's really it, is to offer people access to inventory and rates that they have not had access to before. And we want to include benefits into that. We believe we can include benefits ultimately like concierge and VIP lounge access and some of these other kind of travel club style benefits. And we want to do all of that wrapped in technology that's really exciting and unique from the user experience everybody's had on the online travel agencies over the last 20 years. As I mentioned, we're very excited about really venturing down the road with the blockchain technology. We think that crypto rewards is a really great fit for an industry where there's already travel rewards points and miles and those kinds of things. People are already used to that in this industry. So we think that crypto rewards would be like travel rewards points on steroids, essentially, where they're getting something that actually has monetary value for signing up, for booking travel, for referring other people to the site. All of those things would get them travel rewards in the form of blockchain crypto tokens. So that is something we're working on right now. We're actually launching the raise at the beginning of October, first week of October. We're doing a big crowdfunding raise. And so based on the funds that we raise there, we will begin building some of this custom technology that I'm referring to.
Man, you just opened up a whole new can of questions I want to ask you about this, because you brought up the crypto rewards, and I think that's awesome. I mean, you have Bitcoin, the original. Now you have all these altcoins that's out right now. You have Ethereum, you have Solana is like ripping page right now, and you have all these different people. Cardano is another one, just to name a few. I love the way your company is really, man, just really gearing towards the future. I don't want to get into all the crazy stuff, the government and crypto, because
it's a whole rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, I don't want to get shut down or whatever. But I mean, it's really, you have individuals that's trying to stop something that's gone. It's
Sure.
not going anywhere, but
Yeah.
you have certain, institutional whatever trying to stop this side. But
Yep.
I really love how you guys are jumping in advance with that. So I want to say that I want to acknowledge you for that, man. That is awesome. Really taking care of the people that you're connected with. The next thing you said something about October. You said something about the fundraiser. This fundraiser, how is this working? Is this something you doing like private, semi-private, public? How are you?
It's going to be public. I think the rule is I'm not allowed to talk about it before the launch
Gotcha.
because it's all regulated by the SEC and
Right.
and all of those things.
Let me put a pin right here. I think this is very important. I want to talk to the Lead to Greatness community because here, Lead to Greatness, our purpose is to help others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. And I think something like this, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a big, huge fan of the crypto market. I'm a huge fan of investing and things like that. So for someone in the community, I want you to really pay attention, because at the end, of course, I'm going to ask, contact information, and I really want you to follow and get connected. So when this do come about, this can be an opportunity. That's he's talking, Ryan been saying a lot about partnership, and I love it. I love the culture of the whole partnership, and even giving people involved to be a part of it to succeed in the end. So I really love the whole perspective of that. So those that are interested in the fundraising aspect, because of laws and regulations, we can't explain too much into it, but if you follow him and connect with him, you'll know when it happened. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's all fair to say, and we'll be releasing more information on specific dates and on what platform and all those things. I think I'm permitted to say that's our intention and that's what we're working on. Beyond that, can't talk too much about it. Yeah, I hope that some of your audience will follow us and kind of stay tuned because we'll be making announcements related to all of that. It's certainly a very exciting time for us, and especially if people are looking at traveling and the excitement of traveling, and we're going to be doing some really different, unique things in the travel industry, and for those of you that are also into crypto and all that, that we believe is a really exciting component to what we intend to build. So we hope some folks will stay tuned.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Ron, that's awesome. I want to back up just a little bit. You said something earlier, and I said, man, I have to dig on this. You talked about 2008. 2008, we had the whole crisis. You say you was a real estate broker, and that was it was a terrible time. 2008 all the way to maybe 2012 or whatever. I remember when this was going on. It was really tough time. And so you already experienced the big change in something that's economically draining to the society. So you were in 2008, you were in that industry. Now in 2020, with travel with the pandemic, you are in the industry. So what from 2008, what happened in 2008, how you navigated through that and came out, you made some changes, but at the end, you still won. From 2008, going through that process where you feel like you're about to lose, you feel like everything is tumbling down from then, and then 2020, you dealing with this again. What lesson did you learn from 2008 that you implemented in 2020 that helped you get traction a lot faster than you did in 2008?
Well, it's when a bomb like that goes off, whether it's 2008 or what happened in 2020, you're never expecting it, right? You can't, no one could really anticipate it. I mean, there was a couple people in the world that anticipated what happened in 2008, but very few people saw what was really getting ready to happen there in terms mountain of cards coming down at once there. And so you don't go into something like that with a plan. You try to go with the flow and take things day by day. And a big part of it is just being flexible, nimble enough to adjust on the fly. That's it. It's so often that we try to think, well, things got to look a certain way. Like this is how things are going to look. And if they don't look this way, then I'm not successful. You've got to have some flexibility because there are things that play in our lives in this fast moving stream of our lives that we do not have the power to control. Yeah. So the best we can do is to be flexible and nimble enough to make adjustments as necessary. So, and certainly as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to make those adjustments. We don't have the resources of a large company like Airbnb, let's say, multi-billion-dollar company in the travel industry. Where we do have a nice advantage is we can pivot as needed. So as long as you're small enough to make changes and adapt to what's going on, you can make it through, but it's just a day-to-day practice. It's pivoting as needed. And so that's what I would say. I mean, I didn't really think about it that way, but I was a real estate broker in 2008. I could not have been more negatively impacted by what happened there. And I was in the travel industry in 2020. I haven't really thought about it in that way, honestly. But I was in the kind of epicenter of the earthquake, if you will, on both of those. Here's the thing, I'm one of those people, again, without getting too philosophical, that believes, there are no accidents. There are things that are meant to be. Just understand that you don't need to control everything. Go with the flow, do everything you can, pivot as needed, and you'll be surprised at how things work out. And again, going back to what I said before, be careful not to label everything as good or bad or anything, because the truth is, we don't really know what's happening. We don't know how it's going to play out. Do the best you can and allow the process to unfold. And a lot of good things can come out of things that you wouldn't expect would have a positive impact.
Ryan, that is a fireworks of knowledge bombs. Wow. That is some great information, man. To close us out, that is really good. If someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, so our platform, version 1.0 of what we're doing, we have a recent partnership with Priceline, which we're very excited about. As I said, we are going to be building a lot of custom technology, but we have just done a soft launch of hellovacay.com. You can go there, and right now, as we do this soft launch, and for everybody on your podcast, we're offering a free month. Try it out for a free month. We made it real easy to cancel at any time. If you stay in, you can do $8.95 a month or $99 for a full year. And literally, you can book one trip for a weekend and save more than the $99 for the full year. The savings are real, and you can do an A/B comparison and look at our prices compared to any public online travel agency, and you'll know it'll give you a percentage of all the savings off the public rates. So I ask everyone to at least try it out for a week or two. We'll give you a free month right there on hellovacay.com. And by all means, reach out to us through social media and otherwise, and give us feedback on what your thoughts are. Yeah, I think people will enjoy it.
I love what you guys are doing into, helping lives, people, especially, leaders and business owners. Come on, guys, it's time to take a vacation, and enjoy yourself, right? So I really, really appreciate what you're doing on your side and helping people like myself and the Lead to Greatness community, to take those vacations and to save while we do that. Thank you so much. Half of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Thank you so much, Cedric. I've enjoyed being here today.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.